Meeting will please come to order. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Wilmette. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. As I said, this is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Wilmette. We'll call the matters in the order which they appear on the printed agenda, and there are copies of the agenda on the table by the door. So you may want to have one so you can follow along to see when your matter will be called. Now, if you plan to address us tonight, we ask that you please come up to the podium, please speak into the microphone and tell us who you are and where you live, as that may be relevant to the matter at hand. We ask that you please speak clearly into the microphone so we can hear you, and because everything you say and everything we say is recorded. From those recordings, minutes of the meeting are prepared. These minutes are available both at Village Hall and as well as on our website at wilmette.com. Also, our Village Board meetings are televised on Local Access Channel 6 and on the Internet, and if you look up, you can see the cameras in the corners of the room. By televising our meetings, we make it easy for our neighbors to follow the proceedings of Village Board, see the types of matters that come before us, the kinds of questions that we ask, and the policies that we create. You can find archived videos of Village Board and other local government meetings at wilmette.com. And I'd like to personally thank all the residents of Wilmette who tune in regularly to Channel 6 and really pay attention to the workings of their village government. Now, before each meeting, the Village Board members receive a package of agenda materials, and these materials are also posted on wilmette.com on the Friday before our meeting so that residents and other interested parties can review the very same materials that we receive. This week's packet contained 221 pages. And we've had an opportunity to review this information in the agenda packet, so if you do plan to address us tonight, we ask you to tell us the most relevant, the most material, the most important points that you really want us to focus on. Finally, we are a community of neighbors, and as such, we want our meetings to be as civil and courteous as possible. So as a courtesy to those around you, please take this time to turn off your cell phones and other devices. And while we're turning off our phones, would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Sullivan. Trustee Kennedy.
Here.
Trustee Dodd. Trustee Kurzman.
Here.
Trustee Barrow.
Here.
Trustee Plunkett. President Belinsky.
Here. So we're a little light tonight, but we do have a quorum and can conduct business. Item 2 on the agenda is public comment, and during public comments, individuals are allotted up to 3 minutes to address the Village Board on an item which is not on the agenda. Members of the audience may address the board on matters which are on the agenda when the particular matter is called. So are there any members of the audience who would like to address the board on an item which is not on the agenda? May I see a show of hands? Okay, moving on. Item 3 is the consent agenda. As described on the printed agenda, items that are routine business, which are not normally debated by the Village Board, are placed on the consent agenda. And all items, beginning with the number 3, are on the consent agenda. So tonight, starting on page 1 with item 3.1, consent agenda includes also all the items on page 2, as well as the first 2 on page 3, ending with item 3.13. Items on the consent agenda are up for approval tonight, and if an item is not removed by a member of the audience and is not removed by one of the trustees, the item will be approved and it will not be discussed. So I'll begin by asking, is there any member of the audience who would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? May I see a show of hands? I thought I saw a young man back there hold his hand up, but I'm not sure he was serious. I'll move on to ask you if there are any items that any of the trustees would like to remove from the consent agenda.
No.
Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll on the motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Kurzman.
Aye.
Trustee Barrow.
Aye.
President Belinsky.
Aye, so the motion carries. The consent agenda has been adopted. If you are here for an item on the consent agenda, it was just approved, and I'll clarify for those of you who are here tonight. Again, all the items beginning with the number 3 have been approved, and that includes land use items 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7. So if you're here for one of those items, it was just approved. There'll be no further discussion of those items or any of the other items on the consent agenda, so you are free to leave. Of course, more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, and it's not going to be much longer before this meeting's over. So all of us tonight, because it will be early when this meeting adjourns, all of us have time to stop by a restaurant downtown before we head home. The next item is the report of officers, and we'll start with a report from our village manager, Mr. Frenzer.
No report, Mr. President.
Next report is from our Corporation Counsel, Mr. Stein.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Next item is the report of the Liquor Control Commissioner, and there's no report tonight, so we'll move on to the standing committee reports. First up is the Land Use Committee, Trustee Barrow.
All items on the consent agenda.
The Finance Committee, Trustee Kennedy.
All items are on the consent agenda.
The Administration Committee had 3 items that were on the consent agenda. The Municipal Services Committee had 1 item on the consent agenda. Public Safety Committee, Trustee Kurzman.
No report.
And the Judiciary Committee had a single item also on the consent agenda. There are no reports from our special committees. That's item 6.7. Item 7 is new business. There's no additional new business to discuss. So we'll move on to item 8, which is adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? We stand adjourned at 7:38 PM.